listen to this. Page 10. I'm afraid the dead remember dying.
That's terrifying.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Emily Paige Wilson. I'm a poet and I also write young adult novels in verse. And if you are over here from Alexa Dunn's channel, hello friends, welcome. She recently did a video about 30 different traditional publishing channels to follow. So it was really cool to get a shout out from her, and I will leave that video linked down below so that y'all can check out new channels as well. Also, if you stumbled across this video not through Alexa Dunn and you want to like and subscribe, that would be most welcome. We are so close to hitting 100 subscribers, at which point I will give away a copy of my most recent chapbook, Hypochondria, Least Powerful of the Greek Gods. So today I am excited because I want to talk about some poetry collections. I have 5 for you, well 4 plus an anthology plus an honorable mention that I haven't yet read. Starting this video a little bit scattered for a Capricorn, but that's okay. I wanted to share with you guys some poetry collections that I thought would be really fitting reads for Libra, Scorpio, spooky season in general. The first collection on my list is Witch Doctrine by Anna Browning. This came out last year in 2020 by Akron Press, I believe. Yes, University of Akron Press. And what I liked about this collection is that there's something in the voice that feels antiquated in a way that you would expect from a witch living in like the 17th, 18th, 19th century alone in a cabin somewhere. We have doctrines in this collection, we have spells in this collection, we also have ghosts that come in at the end. A lot of the lines in these poems are very short. A lot of the times Browning will use couplets as well, so there's a lot of tension held between each of the lines and each of the stanzas. And just to read you guys a blurb from the back so you can get a little bit more of what the atmospheric experience of reading the book is like. Carrie Webster wrote, "Knowing that our doctrines are woefully inadequate, Anna Browning has crafted a new one that takes into account ghostly appetites, egg rituals, ectoplasm, and uncanny daughters. I went a long way into the disquiet," the speaker tells us, in the communiques that show a woman alchemized into tender fearlessness. Opalescent as an eye, glinting as a sharpened tooth, Witch Doctrine is a dazzling debut. This next collection I think I read last year as well. This was one of the best books of poetry I had read last year. Also, I think just in a while. This is read by Chase Bagroon. I hope I'm pronouncing their last name correctly. This came out with Birds LLC in 2018, and I'm already just looking through this collection. There are so many lines that I have underlined. Listen to this. Page 10. I'm afraid the dead remember dying.
That's terrifying.
I found my hands full of sound. We never refer to sadness as something that looks like secrecy, but it does. So the premise of this collection is that Chase has taken the text of Dracula, and all of the poems in here are erasures from that parent text. And even red, which connotes so many things, that color is such a vibrant color. I mean, often we're associating it with the theme of blood and the image of blood, but red, Chase has taken the R from Bram, the E from Stoker, and the D from Dracula to make the title of this collection. So Chase has left an author note at the beginning of this collection, which I'm going to read again to give y'all a little more context. As the text of Dracula, a classic Victorian-era horror novel soaked with a disdain of femininity and the misogyny of its time, is erased, a new story is told, in which its narrator takes back the agency stolen from her predecessors. This work was written at the same time its author had begun their own gender transition. As they were discovering and attempting to define their own womanhood, the narrator of these poems traveled alongside them. This is a really good collection, y'all. I love erasure as a form of art, as a form of legacy and complicating legacy. I really enjoyed this collection, and I think Chase is the Scorpio. I think it says so on their Twitter. Definitely, if you are looking for a good spooky season read. Although spooky season sounds so flippant when this book is really, really powerful. But if you want to read it during Scorpio season, you can't go wrong. So the next 2 books I actually don't have in hand. One I gave away to one of my Patreons, So if you guys are curious and would like to support the channel outside of liking and sharing and watching, which is always appreciated, I will have my Patreon link down below. But one of these books I gave away to a patron, and the other one I thought was back here. I feel like maybe you guys are going to be able to see it, and it's going to be like Blue's Clues, where Steve would just be going on his merry way, and you know, when you were a kid, you would go, a clue. I feel like it's probably on the shelf behind me. More likely than not, though, it's downstairs because I made this announcement in my last video when I did the seasonal poetry tag by Cave Spivey that we are going to be moving back to North Carolina. So my filming schedule and my uploading schedule are probably going to be a little bit more sporadic than they were in the past few months. We've done some preliminary like house cleaning to prep for the move, and I think my boyfriend has taken a lot of those books, a lot of the books that were up here, downstairs in the basement.
Like, I love y'all, but like not enough to go dig through basement boxes.
So the third collection that I highly recommend reading during the spooky season is HoodWitch by Felita Hicks. And I will find y'all a picture because the cover art is really stunning for this collection. I think it came out 2019 from Acre Books. And I think that Hicks as a poet does such a good job of exploring the idea of witchcraft, both abstractly, but also in a really tangible, personal ways. There are different series of poems that have the speaker, which, you know, speaker and poet, not always the same person, but the poems are either titled or they're framed with epigraphs to denote the place and the time in the speaker's life at which point these poems were written. And so it creates this really like vulnerable intimacy, and you feel like you get to kind of grow through the life of the speaker as you're reading this collection. So I'm going to read you just the very first paragraph of like a promo page for HoodWitch on acrebooks.com. This repeating debut from poet Felita Hicks is a reclamation of power for both Black women and non-binary people whose bodies have become the very weapons used against them. HoodWitch tells the story of a young person who discovers that they are something that can and will survive a whole century of hunt. That's such a good line too, a whole century of hunt. Through a series of poems based on childhood photographs, Hicks invokes the spirits of mothers and daughters, sex workers and widows, to conjure an alternative to their own early deaths and the deaths of those whom they have already lost. I'm glad I read that because now I am remembering. I don't have the collection in front of me and I gave it away about a year ago, but there are photographs kind of in the legacy of Rita Dove, Thomas and Beulah. That collection was really important to my own forthcoming debut collection, Yalubi. So I was able to find a lot of literary kinship in the series of writing about family portraits, and I really enjoyed the collection HoodWitch, and I definitely recommend it. This last collection, which I'm like sure is in the basement, I'm so bummed because this cover art is also just so striking. It looks like wood etchings. Witch Wife by Kiki Petrosino, whom I absolutely love. I think she is just such a phenomenal poet. I loved Witch Wife. There is, I can't remember if it's in Witch Wife or not, or maybe I just read it online. There's a poem, Ancestors, that Kiki wrote that literally I did not know how I was going to close my collection, Yalubi. I did not know how I was going to close out that collection until I read that poem, Ancestors, and then wrote kind of like a response poem, homage poem to this piece. Like, I just think Petrosino is such a good poet. This is Madeline Wattenberg writing a review of Witch Wife for The Bind, which I will leave the bind down below. It's a really cool review website run by a former UNCW MFA student, which is also where I got my MFA. But this is what Madeline wrote about Witch Wife. Tensions between the magic to create, freedom to self-govern, constraints of imposed form, and the ability of others to read one's form are present both in the choice of formal poetic approaches and in the collection's reflections on Black women's bodies. Petrosino's speakers are bound to universes and worlds formed by others. Like any bind, form may be broken, but like a perpetually reabsorbing universe, the breaking of form often becomes the form itself, leading to a changed and unchanged universe. And here are also some lines from one of the collection's poems, Contagion. I keep time traveling back to the noon of my birth. Worse than a war zone, that Sunday, that night, when I wept in the war of myself. That's the first war I knew. It was worse than a war. She also really loves working with villanelles, and I think that's probably why that Madeline Wattenberg review talked a lot about form too. So just a fantastic book. I highly recommend that collection.
Also, I apologize. I am shamelessly filming this right after I filmed my seasonal poetry tag by Kay Spivey. So, like, don't judge me. It's the same cup of coffee, the same outfit.
So this last book is really cool. This is actually an anthology, and I do have it in my hands. This is Undead, edited by Bianca Lynn Spriggs and Katerina Stakova. And this collection is really neat. It's all about ghosts, ghouls, basically anything, again, that fits into spooky season. This came out 2018 from Apex Publications. And look at this really beautiful cover art. I don't know if I still have the picture, but spoiler alert, I have a poem in here, also from Yalubi. And when I got this copy, when I got my contributors copy, I definitely went and got my nails done. And I had like the paint match this red, and then I just had a lot of little pearls and jewels. It was cute, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, it was cute. But I'm just gonna read you some of the titles so you guys can like get the vibe of it. Visitors from the Dead, Beware of Addicts, From an Undead Cafe in Paris, Molly's Doll. And so I have a poem in here, so I'm gonna read it because
it's not an Emily Page Wilson video if I don't surprise y'all with a reading.
So this poem was originally published in the Raleigh Review, which is one of my favorite literary journals. It was republished in this anthology. The title of the poem has since changed to Mischief. That's how it's going to appear in Yalubi. But at the time, the poem was entitled My Great Grandmother's Ghost is a Kleptomaniac. Once I lost a pair of garnets, a graduation gift. Pomegranate seeds fashioned into earrings, facets cut to hold light in deep fuchsia folds. Whenever trinkets go missing, we know to blame Gladys, her spirit really, who reveals itself by hiding things. Bobby pins, buttons, brooches. Should it surprise us, the way jewelry attracts these hauntings? Pieces made to showcase the body. How earrings cast shadows on exposed shoulders, how tiny a wrist seems when slipped into a bracelet's obliging mouth. A necklace resting in the slender curves of a clavicle. Isn't this what spirits are after? A reminder of the shapes of the bodies they've misplaced. To enter or rest on skin without causing harm. To stay comfortably afloat. I dreamt, weeks after I lost my earrings, that they had fallen from a shelf. And there they were in the morning, waiting on the carpet underneath, bright red and ready to be worn. And that's a true story, y'all. That is 100% a true story. I have,
I should have been wearing them for this video.
I am wearing a ring. That ring is a garnet that came from Prague that my grandmother got me because garnets are my birthstone, and Prague is known for its garnets, but I had these really beautiful
garnet earrings. I'll get them for you. They're not in the basement.
So my parents got these earrings for me when I graduated college, and I thought I lost them. And earrings to me are very sentimental, like jewelry in general, but like particularly earrings and rings. And I thought I had lost them, and I just cried. I was so sad. And not in like this gross kind of materialistic way, although these are material things, but it was a big accomplishment to graduate from college. Not many people in my family had had that opportunity. And so when I like lost the symbol of that, I was so distraught. And I straight up, you guys, had a dream that they were there underneath my dresser. And literally the next morning, that's where they were. I found them. And I told that to my mom, and she's like, oh yeah, your great grandmother Gladys must have let you know. And like that happened all the time. Like apparently, I think my mom said like my grandmother thought she lost a brooch, and then she had a dream that it had been pinned behind a window curtain, and that's where it was. I told myself 15 minutes to shoot this video, and now it's been 30 minutes. But one final closing note, I have not read this collection yet, but I imagine it probably would fit in with the rest. That is Protection Spell by Jen Gavon, and she has a YouTube channel. I didn't know that, so I'll link that down below. I found out researching for this video, but I have not read that book yet. I would really like to. So if you've read that
video,
If you've read that book, let me know down below. And also, let me know what your favorite poetry collections are that fit into this kind of spooky season vibe. Any collections that have to deal with magic or witchcraft or ghosts, hauntings in general, I would love to check them out. So be sure to like and subscribe. My uploading schedule will be sporadic for the next few months, to be completely honest with y'all, but I would love for you to stick around. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.